Hi, welcome to the Practice Sports Coaching's YouTube channel. The presentation you're about to watch actually took place live at one of our sessions. So can I use this opportunity to invite you to come and join us? We meet every Tuesday and the details are on the screen. If you like this kind of content, can I encourage you to please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell? That way you'll get notified whenever we release any new content. Let me not take too much of your time. Enjoy today's presentation, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad today to share something with you I've been working on. I mean, you know that I like metaphors because I use them in my play shops for the Tree of Life, for as well the Journey of Life and other things. And so I started digging a little bit about metaphors, and I was amazed how we can use metaphors in coaching. So I wanted to share today with you because I think that's a great tool to make a change from the ordinary questions to a metaphor question. So first, you know that I like interactive things. So what is a metaphor, guys? What is a metaphor for you?
That was going to be my first question to you.
Late.
I mean,
Yeah.
Go on, Stan.
It's kind of where you give an example of something that's like something else.
Yeah. Jasmine, you wanted to add something else?
No, he said it beautifully.
Anybody else?
I
Nope.
think
Yeah.
is a story with a moral or something like that, maybe. No, there's something else.
See, that's what would be behind it. But the definition, it's like one person's description of something else, of something as something else, as Stan said, right?
Mm.
And George Lakoff and Mark Johnson wrote a book called Metaphors We Live By, and they say the essence of metaphor is understanding and experiencing one kind of things in terms of another. What we don't realize that we use metaphor in everyday language. It's estimated that an average person uses a metaphor every day, right, in our everyday language, once every 25 seconds. But we don't realize it. You know, the speaker or the listener are not usually aware of it. And metaphors are not used arbitrarily because they are drawn from how people interact with their environment. The use of metaphor as well has a coherent logic behind it, and it's consistent in time. And once a person settles on a particular metaphorical perspective, there is a logic consequence that follows. For example, when we're talking about something like we use a metaphor, usually there is a link with the way we behave. So Zoltan Kovacsky, who is a professor in a School of English and American Studies of Faculty Humanities, did a survey, and that was quite amazing. He went through all the metaphor dictionaries and literature on conceptual metaphors to see what was in common, okay? What was the basis of everyday metaphors. And he found that there are 6 most used source domains. The human body, which includes health and illness, living things like animal, plants, people-made things, buildings, machines, tools. Sometimes we use, okay, I'm taking all my toolbox, or my company, we work like a machine. Human activities, games, sport, war, money, cooking, food, environment as well, heat, cold, light, darkness, physics as well, with the spaces, the movement, the direction, right? So I'm going to use an example with plants, and I'm going to give you a few metaphors. For example, our company is growing, yeah, like a plant is growing. They had to prune the workforce. The organization was rooted in old thinking. Our capital investment is beginning to bear fruit. There is now a flourishing black market in software. His business blossomed when they opened the new road. So just to make it fun, because I don't want to be the only one talking, right? Give me a metaphor. Come on. Who wants to give me a metaphor? What
Solid
metaphor?
as a rock.
Sorry?
Solid as a rock.
Yeah. Who else?
I know a Dutch one. I do that with 2 fingers in my nose.
Okay.
It's really easy, that means.
Exactly. We said the same in French.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Mark, do you have one you use very often? You're muted.
I'm trying to think of one I use. I don't think I'm conscious when I use metaphors. Now that I've had your description of what a metaphor is, I probably use it more often than I realize. But right now, as I'm sitting here, I can't even think of one.
Yeah, I'm right there with Matt. I've drawn a blank.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a metaphor right there. I've drawn a blank. Yeah.
That's why.
You see, I think, right, and I concur with Matt, that certain things are so integrated into my language that I don't even know how to begin separating it, right? It's like someone saying, how many times did you breathe each minute? Like, I don't know. It just is. But thank you for raising awareness about it. Now I have to think.
Well, you will probably think now and just have a conversation with someone and just say, oh, metaphor there, metaphor there. So mine is, I like to use, talking about a person, they are an open book, right? Nothing to hide, okay? What you see.
Feelings. I use them not many times with feelings. I feel as weak as a cleaning cloth or something like that. Mostly with feelings, I think.
Right, great, thanks. So let's have a look at metaphors in coaching. So as for a tool for coaching, the client's metaphor gives us, for us coaches, an insight into their unique perception of the situation and their goals. Let's have a look at an example. For example, if a client says, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what they are experiencing, nearly physically, right? And there is a light for them, and there is a tunnel. So they can describe in which direction the light is, how far it is, where the light comes from, what about the tunnel, the structure, what it looks like. So in a way, without knowing, because it's really unconscious, the client will know on some level what needs to happen for them to move towards the light and to get out of the tunnel. So coaching with metaphor is different as coaching with without metaphor, like ordinary questions. And in 1980, David Groves, a psychologist, and started talking to his clients and realized that they were using metaphors. And by using their exact words, he found out that they stayed in the metaphor and that the perception of their problem began to change. So he created what is called the method clean language. So he was asking typical questions, so it would not contaminate or distort metaphor. But 2 people went even further. They applied it to coaching itself. They just changed it and used the clean language method and changed, and I would say simplified it, and created what is called the symbolic modeling. So it's based on 12 specific questions. Yeah, they've got questions I'm going to show you in a minute. We ask the client what they want, what they need to happen for them to get to their goals, what needs to happen for them to overcome the problems, the barriers, but in a different way. So this modeling process is based on 12 questions, and they are divided into 3 parts. And I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to use them for the exercise today, guys. So no worries, I'm going to put that in the chat later on. So they've split it into 3 parts: developing questions, moving time questions, and intention questions. When you see X and Y, it's because we use the client's exact words. So, and then I'm going to use the example of I can see the light after showing you the question, so it will make more sense. And there is anything else about that, using the client's exact words and what kind of X is that X, and whereabouts is X, and what's X like what. So the answer is Y. So then after that, they're going to be asked the relationship between what the problem was and what the answer of the number 4 question was. And when X, what happened to Y? Then we move to the time question. And what happens just before the event? And then what happens and what happens next? Again and again, getting deeper. And where could or does come from? And then the intention question, right? And what would you like to have happen? And what needs to happen for the situation to move to something else? And what intention of, or the intention, and can you do it? So let's have a look at an example. We were talking about I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So first you can ask, and when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, what would you like to have happen? Answer, I want to get out of the tunnel and be in the light. And when you get out of the tunnel and you can be in the light, is there anything else about that light? Go and dig deeper. It's warm or it's bright or whatever the description is, and use it. And when you can be in the light, what kind of you is that you? I feel relieved, like a great weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Okay, weight, straight away, go there. What kind of weight is that weight? What kind of lifted is that lifted? Because we all have a different perception of the weight and to be lifted. You can take it to a step further. You can take it a step further. And when you are relieved in the light, what happened next? Right. You might as well ask what needs to happen for you to get out of the tunnel and be in the light, and what else needs to happen. And you can have a look now at the tunnel. And can you get out of the tunnel? No, because my feet are stuck to the ground. Okay, what kind of stuck is stuck? Is there anything else about your feet that are stuck? What kind of ground? Is there anything about the tunnel when you are, your feet are stuck? Or when your feet are stuck to the ground and you are in the tunnel, then what happens? So in a way, as coaches, we are explorers, right? And we are taking our coachee in an exploration journey. So they explore the terrain with us, and they gradually perceive more and more as we continue the question. So in a way, using metaphors as well is a good resource to unlock, shift, and move the problems they find in their life, or they have in their lives, to achieve goals and dreams. So before I give you the exercise of the day, is there any question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Come on.
What if the coachee does not understand your metaphor?
No,
The metaphor.
they give you the metaphor. They give you the metaphor. So they know exactly. For example, I could just say, oh, working for that company, it's like swimming against current. Okay, how is the current? What is swimming for you? How do you feel? What is it, like a river? Is it in the sea? Where are you? And just try digging and digging and digging. using those questions. But in a way, it's for you to invite your coachee to just use a metaphor. And if you had to use a metaphor, or if you had to describe it, what would it be? And then start asking the questions according to the model. Obviously, include some of yours as well, but Jasmine?
Yeah, great presentation. Thank you, very insightful. Just building on Ruth's question, what is a good question to ask someone who really doesn't understand what a metaphor is, to get them to start talking in metaphors?
Give them an example. Give them an example of a metaphor, like describing something with something else. She's an open book, or now you're going to be an expert and you're going to find all the metaphors you're using and other people as well. So give them an example and just say, if you had to describe the situation, what would it be? What would be your words?
Mm-hmm.
And
Great,
if you use one every 25 seconds, as you said, then it won't be hard to find a metaphor used.
That's right. But the thing is, we're not aware of it.
Yes.
So we don't look for them. But maybe now, as this presentation, or you can do a bit more digging if you want to have a look at the symbolic modeling. Maybe that's something you want to investigate on, because I was quite surprised about the number as well. So and it's true. It's true. And
in the beginning of your presentation, you summoned 5, I think, 5 things we use most for metaphors: the human body, and then I wrote down 3, but could you
6? There are 6. There are 6. Human body, living things, people make things, human activities, environment, and physics, like forms and movements. 6.
And what was the 3rd one?
People made things like buildings, machines, and tools.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions?
I have a question, but I don't think I've got the question clear in my head. But it was more from the other side, from the coach's side. Is there any negatives to using metaphors in coaching as a coach? Are there any negatives? Because I'm conscious that I'm not aware I do it, but I'm almost certain after listening to you clarify what they are, I'm almost certain I do in everyday language.
So what do you think would be negative?
Lack of
One would be if they didn't understand it, as Ruth said, if they didn't understand what your metaphor was.
Yeah.
You don't have to use metaphor. You can just, you as a coach, you recognize that it's a metaphor, and then you change the if you want to, you change the way you question.
Yeah.
But they might not know it's a metaphor. We don't even know when we use it. We don't even realize it. So I assume that they might not know that it's a metaphor, but you as a coach, you recognize it, and then you change the technique, and you can apply this symbolic model.
And I think if I use a metaphor myself and the other person doesn't understand what I mean, that becomes clear very, very fast. And then you can explain what you mean, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What do you mean by that? So as for the negative side, the fact that the coachee chose that metaphor means that they use that way to describe a situation. So by digging, you shift them, you move them. So there's nothing, I can't see anything negative, Mark, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about you, the others, but I mean, for me, it's a way to, in a way, suddenly look at a picture and oh, I feel that, and yes, and I'm stuck because I'm in that tunnel, but am I really stuck, right? So I think for me, it's a way to just shift those problems and the blocks in a different way.
I'm trying to recall to see if in all the sessions I've ever had, I mean, obviously I can't remember all of them, if somebody uses metaphor, but I probably wouldn't be aware of it like I am now after today's session. So I think historically, if somebody had used it, I would immediately know what it means and I would have ignored the fact that they used it. But you're saying we should explore it further when they use it.
Mm-hmm.
But for you as a business coach, you probably have been speaking about the growth of a company.
All the time.
And that might be meant as a metaphor.
Yeah, it is, because it's like a plant. Okay, so how is the plant growing, in which way? So what does that plant needs to grow? You know? Well, that's why I thought that was quite good to just try to explore it today.
Absolutely. I think to answer Mac's comment is that the only danger as a coach is that you assume you're processing it in the same way as the client means it.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to ask, right? Well, what does that mean to you? So that you can start from a point of shared understanding.
Yeah. Or even make the coach more conscious to, if possible, not use metaphor. Going back to Stan's point, the assumption that they understand what you actually mean. Because as much as America and the UK both speak English, our English is very, very different.
Man.
Let's not even talk about Australia.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
they're different.
Foreign language with the same words.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You can always ask them, but at least you are more aware of them now. So as Priya was saying, I mean, Mike, I'm sure you had, you're talking about growing, talking about when we were talking about blossoming as a company. But now you know a little bit, and suddenly it's just like, oh yeah, metaphor. Shall I go there or not? That's your choice. I mean, that was just today awareness for everybody. So.
Okay.
But my question would be the same as anything. If you're a coach and someone says something that you don't understand, then you're asking questions. Like, for instance, Mac, if someone said, oh, you know, I need to boost my, you know, RII, and you can say, well, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I think the general assumption is you already know what the metaphor means based on your understanding. So naturally speaking, if somebody had said, you know, something about boosting ROI, I wouldn't even think about exploring that further because I know exactly what they mean. I would focus more on, okay, so how do we get that done rather than, can you give me your understanding of what boosting ROI means to you? So, okay, cool.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you want to understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And I was just using that as like it wasn't a metaphor, but if someone gives you a metaphor, you would get the same understanding. You'd ask a question and say, okay.
Cool. So you got some questions for us, Isabelle?
Yeah, so the exercise of today is to ask the coachee about a topic they want to be coached on and invite them to find a metaphor to summarize that topic.